Summer heat does more than make us uncomfortable. It can greatly reduce our patience, concentration, and ability to regulate emotion. I have never been very good with the actual season. I enjoy the bright, nostalgic version of summer found in fiction and pop songs. But once the temperature and humidity begin to rise, a strange heaviness settles into my mind. Small tasks require more effort. Minor inconveniences feel strangely irritating. Things that would normally pass without much thought begin consuming more of my attention than they should. It feels a little like using an old smartphone with too many heavy apps running at once. The system is still working, but everything responds more slowly, and even simple operations begin to feel demanding. At first, I didn't connect these small changes in my mood and attention with the heat itself. I simply assumed that some days were harder than others. But over time, I began to wonder whether my mind was not failing at all, whether it was simply responding to the conditions around it. When the temperature rises, a quiet thermoregulatory system inside the body begins working harder. Blood flow to the skin increases, and we begin to sweat, allowing heat to escape. Most of this happens automatically, without entering our awareness. The process reminds me of a laptop operating in a hot room. It has not stopped working, but the additional strain can make everything feel slower. Something similar may happen to us in the heat. We expect ourselves to have the same patience, concentration, and mental clarity as usual. But part of our attention may already be occupied by physical discomfort, thirst, and fatigue. Research suggests that heat can affect processing speed, sustained attention, and more demanding mental tasks, although the effects vary between people and conditions. On hot days, I sometimes become more distracted. I make small mistakes, misplace things, or lose track of what I was about to say. I used to see this as a personal failure. Now I try to see it as a sign that my mind is working under more difficult conditions. When our attention is already occupied by heat and discomfort, the way we respond to ordinary situations may begin to change. We may have less patience for uncertainty, complicated choices, or small interruptions. Instead of considering several possibilities, we may reach for the quickest response. This does not mean that heat automatically makes us impulsive or aggressive. But when the body feels uncomfortable and the mind is already distracted, even minor friction can require more effort to handle calmly. A delayed train, a confusing message, or a small misunderstanding may feel more irritating than usual. The situation itself has not necessarily become more serious. What may have changed is the amount of mental space available to respond to it. I notice this in my own internal monologue. When the room becomes too warm, my thoughts become shorter, harsher, and less patient. I don't think this means I become a worse person in summer. Physical discomfort may simply narrow the space between irritation and reaction. And sometimes, that discomfort quietly spills into the way we speak and respond to other people. If heat reduces the patience and attention available to us, perhaps the answer is not always to push harder. When I notice a sudden rise in frustration, I try to check the physical situation before judging my personality. Is the room too warm? Am I thirsty? Have I been tolerating discomfort for longer than I realized? Sometimes, why am I being so difficult today becomes easier to understand when I first ask, what condition is my body trying to function in? This doesn't remove responsibility for how we treat other people, But it can create a little space before we blame ourselves or react too quickly. I am also learning to adjust my expectations on especially hot days. The room may remain slightly untidy. A complicated routine may become simpler. A task that is not urgent may wait until the temperature becomes more manageable. This is not about abandoning effort. It is about recognizing that our capacity is not identical under every condition. Instead of forcing myself to function as though nothing has changed, I can acknowledge that the conditions have changed and respond accordingly. When the air finally begins to cool late at night, I sometimes feel the tension of the day slowly leaving my body. As the hottest part of summer arrives, I want to remember that heat may be affecting more than my own mood. When someone looks exhausted or speaks with less patience than usual, I don't have to assume that their reaction is entirely about me. The heat may not explain everything, but it may be one small part of what they are carrying. Thinking this way doesn't mean accepting unkind behavior or ignoring my own boundaries. It simply creates a little distance between another person's mood and my interpretation of it. We can't control the weather, and we can't expect ourselves to respond to every condition in exactly the same way. But we can notice when the days are asking more from us than usual. We can move a little more slowly when possible. We can simplify what doesn't need to be complicated. And we can stop treating every moment of fatigue or irritation as evidence that something is wrong with us. Summer will pass, as it always does. Until then, perhaps the goal is not to defeat the season, but to leave a little more room for the body, for other people, and for ourselves.